Peace, HHDG. We're on another episode of HHDG Media podcast. And shout out, as always, everyone that's tuning in through our YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook group. Big shout out, as always, this is possible through our company, HHDG Media, Inc., which consists of our 5 co-owners, co-founders, and family. Rock Vader KB, T. Smith, Skelly Top, The Mayor, and myself, Wiki. As always, do check out our website. As you can see in the bottom banner, hhdgmedia.com. That's where we put up music as well as our written interviews, our merch, and upcoming events. For tonight, we have a returning guest who always comes with it, with the lyrics, showing off the production on the Self series, which we have the new one that just came out, the second installment called John, dropped on August 30th. And you know, having the ability to rhyme and produce is a gift, especially with the amount of music that turns out week after week, and to be able to not just love it, but have the skills for it, and then keep putting it out in a way that, you know, that there's fans out there that are always going to be rocking with it. And to see this man perform at shows and love what he does is something you can't make up. And I love, you know, just being in that atmosphere of seeing artists out there knowing what they're capable of and vibing off the crowd is that extra element that we don't always get with a lot of artists and shows. You know, there's too much of rhyming over the lyrics, number one. Two, there's people that don't have that stage presence, and they're not willing to learn because they're too busy thinking about money instead of the art, rhyming, you know, vibing with the crowd, vibing with the DJ, vibing with the other members that might be up on stage that might be doing guest verses. And this man, you know, he's got it. You know, he's got the experience. He's seasoned with it, and he shows every time. You know, he comes and puts out more than 100% when I see him at shows. And that's exactly how it is with his music. He gives a diverse outlook on not just his life, but the world as a whole, and his love for family. And that shows a lot in the music with the expression. And also his people that he came up with in Queens, you know, always come through on his projects as well. So, as well as his brother who did his thing on the latest project. So shout out to E Noid as well. And again, this man is consistently working. I you know, it seems like, you know, you see him at shows, you might not think he's working, but he's always putting in work. So without further ado, once again, repping Woodside, Queens, I'd like to introduce Lex. Peace, peace.
Peace, Ian. Appreciate that intro. Always honored to be featured as a guest on your show. Always love running into you at the shows. You know what I'm saying? Dapping you up, man. There've been a couple of nights where I've just kind of been in the crowd, just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
And you may have gotten an inkling that I was going to be in the house just based on you know, whatever I may have posted earlier in the day on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever. And you come through with like the most rare piece of my merchandise to have signed, and that's always like, that's a big pick me up, man. I can't undermine how valuable that is to me. Like, I can't overstate it. It's just a beautiful thing to be able to connect with people, you know, on that level. People that are just good, kind-hearted, good people in person. You know, always give off a good aura, always give off a good energy. And you're one of those folks. So I appreciate you, and it's always a pleasure to be, you know, doing this for the hip hop, HHDG media podcast, man. I do appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to hip hop at the end of the day. So always, do my best, and I appreciate that. So it was definitely good when I surprised you with the first installment of the
Yeah,
Self
yeah. That
Alex.
was a good one. That was a good one. That is the first installment of the Self series. That is the vinyl is not owned by many. That was a very limited run, and a handful of people got their hands on it, and what I mean. I do appreciate that level of support.
Definitely. Now, when you first started this series, did you want it to have your name be each part?
With the first installation, Alex, I definitely knew that I wanted to make, because this was like really when I began making beats. So I've been rhyming for a really long time. I started off as a DJ, and I think we discussed this in the past.
Mhm.
But like the humble beginnings was just DJing as a hobbyist, making having my instrumentals on vinyl and just kind of making mixtapes, bringing them out to the park, freestyling to them, and then eventually just kind of getting sharper with the rhymes and having more of a hunger for that lane. I mean, as far as there's always kind of been that element of appreciation for the production aspect of things. It's always the music first. But I didn't get involved in my own production until I want to say around, maybe 2016, 2017, when I started, just dabbling in that a little bit and really just kind of going in on primarily loop based type, production. And there was when I really like hit the ground running. I can recall within the first couple of weeks or so making something ridiculous like 70 tracks. I had sent a few out, and some things got used, some just kind of sat on the shelf. But there was definitely like this pocket of what I knew was for me. Like when I made that, I was like, I'm not giving this to no one. I'm not even letting nobody hear this until this is for me. This speaks to me. I know how to approach this sound. That is my sound. And that's really how Alex came together. That first project was really like the things that really appealed to me, and allowed me to go a little bit deeper into experimentation with flows and things like that. And I felt like the music that I was creating from a production standpoint just represented a vibe that was consistent with me as an individual, not so much me as a rapper, me
Mhm.
as a person. And what I was going through, what I was experiencing in my life at that time. So um, when I started writing to that, and I knew I was onto something, and it just felt like, all right, this is, like I said, this feels like me. That's what I want to present in this particular project. I'm gonna call this Alex. That's who I am. Those who know me, some people don't know that I rap. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I'm Alex. I'm still Lex. I'm
Mhm.
Alex. So that's how the first project came together, and then there was some things that continued in that same vein. There was certain production that I knew I wasn't, that's not going nowhere. This one stays in house. And for a time, John was really just going to be an EP because it's my middle name. And John is essentially, I told the story of it a little bit on the insert for the album cover.
Yeah.
Where my middle name I actually got from my brother, from Enoids. So Enoids, when he's my older brother by about 6 years, and when my parents were expecting, um, he had wanted them to give me as the baby his name, right? So he wanted me to be Enoids Junior essentially. um, and they weren't really, obviously they weren't going to do that. That wouldn't make sense, having two kids with the same name when you got to scream at somebody. But they did decide to give me his middle name. So that's where John comes from. And John was really kind of intended to be, once I realized that I had some more in the stash that kind of felt like that lane, and was in the same vein as Alex.
Mhm.
I wanted to piece together a bridge where I could eventually work on, the last name. So John was going to be an EP, but COVID happened, and things kind of took some time to culminate in that process.
Right.
And as a result, more music was being made. And I was able to extend that to a full length. and really kind of got in a couple of features that I hadn't initially anticipated for this project. Just kind of present themselves in ways, like you said, forever on the scene. So I'm always building with my people. And yeah, there were a couple of cats that I had run into, and they were like, "Bro, whatever you need, get at me." And there was a couple people that's like, I love their music. We've been cool for a long time, but we didn't really have anything together. So like that's kind of how CF ended up on the project. That's how Fresh Daily ended up on the project. So yeah, no, I'm very pleased with, and another thing is like just. On the first project, it was very much just me, right? The only other voices you heard on Alex were from my family, like literally, like the intro had
right, yeah.
on it. My wife. My wife also has like a skit a little bit later on in the project. So that was very much in-house. That was like my first recording myself experience when I was working on Alex. John just kind of carried on that same, within the same vein. That same type of energy, but I knew that this time around, I did want to showcase the production on a little bit of a different scale, where you have other voices showing what the music is, outside of just what I can do with it. Just having some of my people flex skills, man. Getting a verse from Born Unique was like, wow, like that was
Man,
a great experience. That was something, and that was somebody else that I connected with, and just kind of made it clear, like, yo, you want to do something, let's make it happen. So we
dope.
did that, you know what I mean? And I was able to get King Magnetic on a verse, and it's just, yeah, everybody that came through came correct. And these are all people that I would love to hear over my production. So, that was my angle with going with the features that I have. And, Tone Spliff, I have a little bit of a working relationship with that. Shout out to Tone Spliff, man. Tone Spliff, you send him an idea, he's going to get it back to you like that, and it's going to be executed to perfection. So never a complaint with Tone Spliff, man. That's the homie right there, man. He always bring it home.
Yeah, his work ethic is amazing. Everybody bigs him up on that, his turnaround and being able to visualize with his hands what the artist, wants for that certain song. And he always comes through.
Yep, definitely.
Now, you said your brother's about 6 years older than you.
Right.
When I see the two of y'all together at shows, I see, you both have your different personalities the same way me and my younger sister. My sister is 7 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So how was it, growing up? Because like I said, I see the personalities a little different.
Yeah, no. So Enoiz was sort of like the third parent, you know what I mean? Like he's always been kind of serious, but and a little more reserved. Although once you get to know him, he's a nut. Like that's just kind of his persona. But yeah, Enoiz, he was a little bit authoritarian. I say when we were younger, you know what I mean? It was like, hey, I'm in charge right now. You gotta listen to what because it'd be, obviously my parents have whatever going on. My pops was working 2 jobs when we were growing up. So he was like, he had a late night job. He would get home late. So my brother, if my mother had to go out to the supermarket, run errands, whatever the case was, it'd just be me and him. So he was sort of like that third parent. He kind of took on the role that way. But, my parents were always like real cool, like they were fair. I mean, to be honest, me and him didn't give them too much trouble.
Okay.
We did our best to make them proud. But yeah. I'd say that growing up with him, he was sort of like that. It was clear the hierarchy. You know what I mean? But he was also somebody I looked up to though. In a lot of ways. I mean, like he definitely inspired kind of like anybody that's very familiar with me or sees me often enough knows that I do have a bit of an affinity for the polo and all that. That came from just seeing him. He went to art and design, and that era was like Mobb Deep and my man Jay Sanchez, Zulu King, like just like mad people that was very much immersed in the culture. my brother just kind of had that. It was like an all city thing, right? So
Yep.
anybody that's not familiar with art and design, that's like one of the specialized schools in the city. And he was going for architecture, and like you would get a lot of cast from every borough. So this was in Manhattan. But there was cast from every borough coming in, and all of them. The idea was surrounding. It was an art school, so you had tons of graffiti artists, just all city cats. I remember I went there one time for just to try out, like because I was into art when I was younger. I like drawing, Wolverine and shit, the comics and all that. And I remember going to give him my portfolio and take the test to see if I could get into that school. I didn't make it, but I remember being in the cafeteria and just like they had like the folding lunch tables when they came down, like
Oh,
all the
yeah.
and the seats were just bombed to death. Like it was essentially like a graffiti school. That's what it felt like when I went there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I mean, just kind of like that aura and that essence and that little bit of like street smarts that came with knowing a lot of people in that environment was something that I admired and looked up to. My brother always had style and you know what I'm saying, and good taste. You know what I mean? Like I can recall really like finding my love for hip hop through listening to, I want to say, the first two primary albums. Well, I'd say three. All of them were Native Tongues, actually. So, Low End Theory was the big one for me. That was the one that got the most burn in the room, and it was Queen shit. So it was very like patriotic in that sense, nationalistic, that home vibe. And then you have De La Soul. It was De La Soul is Dead. That was another big one. So it was around 91. And Black Sheep, Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Like those are like probably the first three albums that really come to mind as far as like absorbing hip hop. As a young cat. So I was 10 going on 11 when those albums were out. And my older brother was really kind of the key influence there. He was the one that was playing it. And I think the fourth one would maybe be Cypress Hill, the self-titled album. So that was another one that got heavy burn with us.
That's dope. Mm-hmm. See, the funny thing is, you mentioning looking up to him and being a great influence. Later on in my adult life, my sister said, "Thank you for putting me on to MF Doom," because it's funny because the story was when she was younger and I used to listen to Doom, she was like, "What the hell is this?" and be annoyed about it.
Right.
And after a while, she started listening to it and started getting it.
Doom is an acquired taste. Doom, well, I mean, for some, right? Some people just kind of gravitate to it right away. For me, Doom actually, I mean, I was familiar with KMD. I didn't realize Doom was Zev Love X until at least maybe like 6 months after I had heard Doom. And then, I heard him when he dropped the Fondle 'Em and all that. I was into the Stretch and Bob and all that heavy. So, and it was my man, I want to say it was my man, Rye, Despot's older brother, matter of fact.
Okay.
It's a high school friend of mine. One of my best friends. I'm still cool with Rye, man. But yeah, he was kind of the one that put me onto that particular album, Doomsday, when it dropped. And I can remember it feeling like what is this? You know what I mean? Like it was different. It was different. There was something about it that was different. It was somehow like the production had like this kind of lighthearted park vibe, but the lyrics were dark, right? He felt heavy. There was something almost like melancholy about his delivery and his overall sound. So it was like a contrast, but he was so gifted, you know what I mean? Like the way he put words together wasn't like anyone else. It's like he was talking and rapping at the same time, rapping at a high skill level, but just delivering it like it's nothing, just kind of like letting it roll off the tongue. So Doom was a unique artist, and definitely, even for me, with the Mad Villain album, I remember when I first heard that, I don't think that it took me a few spins to appreciate it. You know, it wasn't something that I was like, wow, this is amazing. It was like the tracks are short.
Mm-hmm.
There's these weird skits in between, right? There's these weird
Right.
like kind of transitions, and that was just Madlib. Madlib was doing that, you know, on his beat conductor tapes and all that too. But it was all of that was just like it didn't flow as smooth as like your standard 316s and 8 ball hook type of song that was, you know, the norm in that era. But once I finally kind of like honed in on it and stopped thinking about conventionally listening to it. You know, I listened to it enough to really appreciate it for what it was. Masterpiece. It's genius. And that's what Doom was. He was a genius. It's funny because my son, who's now he's 18 going on 19. But when he first started getting into hip hop, he would ask me, you know, like, so I always played the music, you know, or in the car or, you know, wherever, you know. So he had it in him, but I never really intentionally forced it upon him.
Right.
Um, and by the time he got old enough to really feel like, you know, he started really liking music, I want to say he must have been between the ages of like 14 to 16 is like when he really started, you know, getting into it and listening more deeply, more intently. Um, and it was he was into the old stuff, you know, the classics, right? The 90s, which to us that was like the 70s, you know. So you know, he was into a lot of things, and I remember putting him on the Gangstar and him just being blown away, and like, you know, Tribe and all of the shit that I loved. I was happy about. I was excited. Like, yeah, check this out. Check
Mm-hmm.
out this Most Def, you know, Black on Both Sides. This is fantastic. And then you know, eventually on his own, he started listening to more and more. I put him on the Mob Deep, but MF Doom was the one that stood out to him as like that was his favorite. That was the one that really connected to him, and it was strange to me that you know, because he was such an underworld type of artist for us, right? And this is before his passing. This is you know, and you know, it's sad to say, you know, rest in peace, MF Doom, obviously, but it's sad to say that, you know, once someone transitions to the other side, you know, that's when, you know, their genius really starts to get recognized, right? So, and then it almost becomes like this oversaturation of you know, oh, you wasn't there, you know,
Uh-huh.
type of deal. But it's a shame because the music is always going to be what it's always been. Um, and dude was a genius, man. So like I found it real interesting that's who my son gravitated towards, like, you know, above all of these other cats. Like, it was like, yeah, Doom is like his number one. I think it's interchangeable at this point between Doom and like Kendrick Lamar, you know. So it's interesting to me, you know. And it's funny because he didn't like Kendrick when he first heard him, and I was like, yeah, listen to this guy a little bit differently because, like, you know, yeah, some of the stuff is clearly, you know, catered towards, you know, a mainstream audience and
Yeah.
crowd, and towards
Mm-hmm.
friends, you know, wanting to jump in the pool. But listen to the guy, give him a chance, right?
Yeah.
And eventually, he knows the lyrics and all that way more than I do. So, you know what I mean? Like,
That's great.
he's taking the Kendrick torch from me.
Now, being you said you put him onto Mob Deep as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta ask,
Uh-huh.
when Alex, the track, put Jules on it,
Right.
what does he think about that track?
You know, the funny thing is, I don't talk too much about my own music to him. He knows that I'm a Prodigy fan. Um, you know, and I have that little interlude at the end where I intentionally try to emulate a little bit of his cadence and you know, just sound. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think he kind of shared the same affinity to as me, and I did mention that on the track as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, can't the lyric doesn't come to me right away, but in any event, yeah, my son did take a liking to it, and it's funny when Prodigy met, you know, what felt like an untimely, you know, passing. Um, I recall taking him to see the mural over there in the bridge. We were still in Woodside at that time. You know, I'm in LI these days, but we was in Woodside, and which is like, you know, if you're familiar with Queens, you know, hopping the skip from the bridge. And we went down there and we checked it out, right? We actually I believe we saw it after the first iteration got defaced.
Defaced, yeah.
And it got repainted. We saw it in the short time period between the repaint and the second defacing, because they didn't do it again after that. So I got to take a picture of him holding up. I had the Prodigy bandana, the HNIC2 joint.
Nice.
Came with the deluxe CD, and he's holding that up in front of the mural. I got a picture of him with it. So yeah, he appreciates. I think he appreciates what he appreciates, and what I think all of us that do really appreciate a Prodigy was, like, aside from the menacing voice and just the just sounding cool as fuck, right? Just sounding like, who sounds as cool as Prodigy, man? Like that motherfucker got it down, son. Like, as far as just like the thun language and all that, like just autistically pleasing, like audibly pleasing sound. um it's the vividness of his description in the rhymes, right? You think about a verse like bullets whizzing past your ears, and just like this vivid imagery that Prodigy would bring to life in its lyrics. And that's something that I think we both took to.
And it was always as if he was talking all the time.
Yeah, but he talked in a different type of there was a different type of effect that his voice had in comparison to someone who, like Doom, who also kind of talked in his rhymes. Doom, it felt kind of conversational, almost laid back, almost kind of like, this is easy, I do this in my sleep. Prodigy had something to his voice that was almost like authoritative. It's like, when I speak, you listen.
Charismatic, yeah.
It was he sounded like a leader, right?
Yeah.
So I think that definitely came across in the music.
With Alex and John, I noticed, because I'm always looking at credits, I didn't see Ches.
Ches, my brother, man. Shout outs to Ches Rocker. Yeah, Ches. So with Alex, that was one. Again, almost everything was kind of self done, right? This was when I was first recording myself as well. With that, I did have a little bit of mixing done with Enoids. Enoids is my brother. I mean, as we've discussed already in this episode, but Enoids is my brother, and that's really like the first engineer that I worked with, right? I want to say we started recording around 2001 or so. That's when we started, just kind of taking these ideas and putting a timestamp on them. And with my brother, he's always kind of been, the first person that I go to. Ches, I think, Ches is Ear Candy family. So you see me at a show, you might see me with Ches, right? Me and Ches, we have the time of our lives everywhere we go, right? So we go out and we look to have a good time. And Ches is like the life of the party, right? He's the battery in the back of like the whole underground. If he's there, you're gonna know it, right? He's making his presence felt. Always fun, always a positive vibe. But Ches got a great ear. Ches is a masterful engineer. I think I first heard the first time I connected through Ches was actually through my man C's RA23. So C's RA23, shout outs to him, Top Shelf, my man Apocalypse. But C's actually grew up in my building when I was coming up. So me and him, it was funny because we had disconnected for years. But if we ever ran into each other, it was always love. He had gotten at me and let me know, what he was up to musically. We started, doing some work together, but it was for the Starving Bee project with C's, 7 Train Lungs. We had a joint. I had a feature on that track called Olives and Empanadas. And that joint was the first track that I had heard Ches mix my vocals on, because he was doing the mixing and mastering for that project. And I always thought Starvin's music sounded amazing. Starv is a natural too. Starv is, just a beast. Um, but yeah, so Ches, connected. I connected with Ches through Seas and Starv, and I think a couple weeks after he had mixed that record, another friend of mine was having a session, or actually, I think the first session I had with Ches, like in person, was with Kespa. We recorded Spit and Opera. That was the first record me and Kespa did together, just as a duo. And yeah, that was at the old Ear Candy. So Ear Candy has gone through a couple of different iterations. This one was a little closer. This was they've all been in LIC, but this one was like a little closer to 10th Street, like the bridge side. And yeah, so the old Ear Candy, we did Spit and Opera, and just the energy that Ches brings, like when you see him in person, is the same energy that he has in the studio. It's kind of keeping you hyped, keeping your energy up, and which is great for the musical, just the creative process. So me, Ches, and Casper, we had such a good chemistry that we kept that going, to this day. So those are my brothers, man. Shout outs to Ear Candy family. But Ches wasn't on these projects just because this is one, particularly with John, I knew I wanted to work with my brother, because we do have like that sort of connection through the middle name and all that, and that's why Enoids has a track on it. So he produced the joint, If I Had a Chance, which features CF. We spoke about a little bit earlier, but yeah, that was the one joint on John that I did not produce.
And the thing about with the production, I feel, because I went and back and listened to Alex just the day that you dropped John on the 30th of last month.
Dope.
And I feel that when you present John, it's definitely personal, like the Alex, but I think it's more emotional, being that what the climate of what you've gone through, not just yourself but your family as well,
right
around this time, and you definitely talk about it on the project as well.
For sure. Yeah, the content. I mean, I think to a degree, all of my projects are going to have some of that, right? Whatever I'm going through is going to be there. I put my life in the music, never shied away from that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, on most projects, I'm usually kind of looking towards having a concept record here. There's something that's a bit more universally palatable. For the self series, it's I may decide to do that on the next one a little bit, but particularly during the process of John, shit, man. Like I said, part of it was going on before, during, and after COVID. And a lot has happened, I think, to most of us over the last few years. So there's been a lot of loss, right? There's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of transition. And with that, I think it presented itself in the music. So it's interesting because I never really thought too deeply about the coincidences. But a few years prior to the pandemic, my mother had gotten into an accident. Right, she was crossing the street after getting off the bus under the train, and some motorcycles just came flying downhill. Turned out to be a stolen bike. Hit my mother. She skidded across the street. And the dude that hit her was a piece of shit, man. A young kid, stole a bike. I say he's a piece of shit because he fled the scene. But to take that a little bit deeper, it was a scenario where he had a girl on the back of the bike with him. She fell off the bike. She hurt her leg or something, was having a hard time getting back on the bike, and he left her too.
Wow.
So, I mean, they caught him. And whatever it is, what it is. You know, uh, he got charged. He was in the wrong. Um, but yeah, just a scary situation, man. Because I remember going to the hospital and yeah, my mother. It's a beautiful woman, and anybody that kind of knows me, that has had the opportunity to meet my mother, and this goes from friends to obviously family, and even coworkers, and just people that I've dealt with over the years. I've always had compliments for how pretty my mother is, right? Um, that day when I ended up going to the hospital to see her, after the accident had happened, she was in bad shape, man. Like it was not pretty. She lost some teeth, had some some major lacerations on her face. She's fortunate to not have had any like real head trauma. But she did have some injuries, some
Yeah.
substantial injuries based on the nature of the accident.
Yeah. Because
And yeah, I mean, I spoke about that on the record, if I not if I had a chance, on the record one of these days. And Yeah, so that was like the first verse, and just coming back around to what I was starting to say, I'm getting lost in my thoughts a little bit, but you know, earlier this year, I got into an accident on the highway myself, and it was something that I was coming home from a show at a Secret Rapport, um, and on the way home, it's just driving my route back home. I'm going from Brooklyn to Long Island. It's a little bit of a trip. And I'm on the LIE, just kind of sitting in the lane and seeing some cars. Every once in a while, you see in your rear view there are cars coming fast. You make note of them, mental note of them. Keep an eye on that. I saw that happening. Two cars drag racing a little bit of a way back. Uh,
uh-huh.
they got there pretty quick, but they ended up kind of veering. I'm in the left lane, ended up veering to the right. So I'm thinking, okay, they're going that way, right? So dude just hops over from two lanes over. I've got no real time to react, and I just kind of see. I like it's crazy how fast and slow things happen. Like it happens in an instant, but you absorb so much of what's going on in the moment. I think your adrenaline just kind of has your senses heightened and things.
Yeah.
And So I'm thinking to myself, like, I can't avoid this. Like this guy's about to hit me. This is gonna be bad because I was going fast enough myself, but he was going like super fast. So I do what I can to just kind of hit the brake and turn my wheel a little bit, and see what I can do to reduce the impact. But he comes right into me. I hit the divider. My car flips over on the highway, skids from the left lane over to almost the right
Carry.
shoulder. I'm upside down in my vehicle. By God's grace, you know what I mean? It was not my time. I was fortunate to have like been helped out of that vehicle by pedestrians that stopped afterwards and helped pull me out. Cause I felt like I was gonna I was going nuts after the car stopped moving.
Mhm.
It's upside down, and you just kind of hear like the engine fucked up, and it's like surreal. I looked to my left, and my window's busted open, and I just start screaming for help. I don't know what else to do. I'm hanging upside down. My seatbelt is tight as hell, and I'm just like my heart is racing. Like that shit just happened. um, and Yeah, I mean, thankfully, there was only one person that was really like out to do damage that day. And everybody else was being helpful. So I got out there unscathed for the most part. A little bit of glass in my hand from when I crawled out the car. Um, no real injuries. I lucked out. I tensed up. I'm lucky. I'm glad nobody was with me. Um, but yeah, hit and run too. Dude ended up kind of like on the other side of the highway and took off. I had footage from a vehicle that was behind me that just had their dashboard cam on.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
looking back at it, it was like, yo, that's crazy. That's like one of those like like when you see the video and they say that somebody didn't sustain injuries. You almost feel like you don't believe that. But when I watched that video, I'm like, I don't know how I didn't get.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get hurt. Mentally, it was something. I had to be back on the road soon enough. So that was an adjustment. But again, that's something else that I experienced. So that ended up on the Fresh Daily record. Because just time wise, I had a track that I was sitting on. The funny thing, I won't get too deep into the story about the Fresh track, but we actually have another joint that was going to be on the project. And Fresh was like, you know what, I'm not so sure if this is really, this track, because the other track was just kind of like braggadocio kind of rhyme joint. And he was like, I'm not really so sure this is how like how I want to present it this time. Fresh, shout outs to him. He's about to have a baby and all that. He just got married. Congratulations to Fresh Daily.
Yeah.
So he had mentioned that to me, and I was like, okay, like I was surprised, but I was like, you know what, I'm glad that he said that. I'm glad that he took the time to say he wanted to put his best foot forward. And I was like, all right, so let me see what I got that's more in line with being able to speak about where you're at, right?
Yeah.
And I went through the stash, and I was like, I do like this track. I hadn't written to it yet. It was one that I knew that I wanted. And it was one that I thought Fresh would sound great on. So this was actually the first rhyme that I wrote after the accident. And I decided to write about it. Time Like is the name of that joint. And it does discuss that. So it was kind of strange to hear on the playback me talking about my mother's hit and run incident on one track. And then, shortly after on the album, I'm coming back around to mine, and I've been like, shit, man, we've been through some shit over the last few years. It's been a lot. So, definitely that's present on the album. And I think it's just kind of the reality of how things are. There's a lot that's not talked about, right? I do also speak about, my aunt passing away on the same song where I'm talking about my mother's accident. That was big for my family. Since then, both of my grandparents that she was caregiving at the time have since passed on. So it's been a lot of change. It's been a lot of it's life be lifing, right? That's as the kids say. Life most definitely be lifing. Sometimes the math don't be mathing, but the life be lifing for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's too many similarities because my late grandmother, she was involved in a hit and run at a time, and she sustained a lot of injuries, like cracked ribs and all types of things. And again, older in age, so the recovery is not the same as for us and younger people as well. So, eventually, that contributed to her longevity not really being there.
Right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences.
Thank you. Yeah, and the reason I brought that up is because she was the person I thought of when I got hit by the SUV.
Yep. Yeah. No, I know you've had a recovery process, man. I've seen it. But like you said, the condition that you were in physically, is something that you're able to kind of make the time and put the effort towards recovery and at a different capacity than the elderly are able to. And I have family in the hospital, in household family in the hospital right now. That's we visited in rehab earlier today. So I mean, it never really ends, right? It feels like the older you get, you would start to think, you figure things out as you get older, and you do, but you figure out the hard way, right? You figure out through experience and through some of it is trial and error, some of it is just nonstop curveballs and heavy fastballs being pitched your direction, and you just do your best,
Yeah. And the way I've been looking at my current daily regimen is maintenance right now. So I'm slowly working towards bouncing out to where it gets more fun again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, that's a process, right? Remembering to have fun too through all the because there's so much juggling, right? There's so much that we're responsible for as we get older. And you realize that more than anything, life is about balance, right? You got to figure out the
Absolutely.
balance to keep things even and steady and succeed. Yeah, be consistent. But yeah, remembering to make the time to have fun even within this music thing. Sometimes like music can feel like a chore, right? There are definitely nights where I do not feel like being outside, but I
Mm.
feel like it's kind of important for me to be there. Sometimes it's for the people that are performing, sometimes it's just for, hey, I want to keep myself energized within this realm. I want to keep my creative, spirits up, and a lot of times for me, that's being on the scene. That's connecting with the people in the community, and really just allowing them to uplift, my spirits, man. Shit. But there are nights where it's like, I gotta perform and I am like, I'm dead on my feet. You
Mm.
know what I mean? It's been such a long day, a long week, a long month or whatever, but I'm out there doing it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's part of the
There it
realm.
is.
So that's part of the consistency too. But you got to remind yourself to have fun, right? So
Yeah.
when I get to the stage, I feel like even there are nights where I'm not my sharpest, but I still have good energy on stage. Good reciprocation from the crowd. I do my best to make sure that my set to some degree is getting people involved, people engaged, and that's important, man. It's important, I think, just on a human element, to be able to connect with people. And when it comes to art, you know, there are lots of people who don't really think that they do it for anyone else. They do it for themselves. I mean, I do it for myself in the respect of, I'm making the type of music that I want to make. But I'm not doing it to keep it, um, you know, buried somewhere, for me to dig up years later and listen to it in my headphones and never share it. Like I'm
Right.
putting it out there,
Yeah.
a lot of it is very personal, but as even we're showing in this discussion, there's a connectivity to it, right? There are similar experiences that people have in life. So I feel, when I'm sharing my own, I listen, I'm not the most popular guy, I'm not the most successful artist, but I connect with the people that connect to my music. And it's a beautiful thing. Like that's something that I cherish. I don't take that for granted. And when people give me the feedback, there are days where like it's just like things are not going great, but I'll get some kind of message where it just lets me know, hey, this is worth doing. Keep
Yeah.
going. So yeah, man, life is a balance, right? But if and it's hard to find time, but it's never going to be granted to you. You're gonna do with your time what you do with it, right? So you got to make it, and you know that's where I'm at these days, man. I've been through my ups and downs, my highs and lows in terms of feeling kind of cheated by um, the whole reception. Sometimes feel that you feel like you're overlooked, or like you know obviously when I was younger, I definitely had that, I'm nicer than such and such kind of mentality.
Uh-huh.
And to a degree, I still, I know where I'm nice, and then where some cats for sure too. I'm not too proud to say that. Because there are a lot of sharp individuals in this craft. But you know what I mean? Like I know what I'm capable of. And I look to put my best foot forward anytime I'm dropping something. And I've kind of allowed for myself to not take whatever oversight comes my way personally at this stage, and just really kind of focus in on those who do show the appreciation and extend the olive branch, and like we making it happen our way. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And you brought up a valid point of that appreciation that you have when you're out there performing, which is reciprocated in the audience, the fans out there seeing you perform. And also, as always, whenever I see you, you got a box with you. You got a box of your merch. And look, this is important because you just never know who's going to be there, who might ask for something.
Right.
And just the fact that they know that you came out there with your own merch is almost similar to like when I came with the LEX vinyl. You never know.
Yeah, no, it's I've kind of learned that. There've definitely been nights where I've been empty-handed, and I felt like this could have been an opportunity. Just feel like a missed opportunity to a degree. But no, it's you never know exactly who you're gonna see when you step out. Sometimes it'd be someone that might have been waiting for a few months to grab the eye, because there are people who, no question, always support, but only support in person. And so it's good for me to just kind of have that available in my vehicle anyway. Like at the very least, I got something in the whip. So no, I try to keep that available. I try to keep that available. Just so that and I tell that to people. If you see me, I might got something on me. So if you want it, just let me know. So I'll be going to work with just a couple CDs in my bag just in case. Never know who you see.
Yeah. That's how it is. It's like your business card right there.
Yeah. No, the stickers kind of, it's funny, man. I've had a few people over the years kind of tell me that how I really got up on you through these stickers, or that's really how people remember me, because I'm always giving out my stickers at shows. And I try to keep them. I try to keep them fly. Do a couple of different colorways and different sizes and things. It's cool because I've gone to studios and to different places where it's like, okay, I know I didn't put that there, but I see my sticker here.
Nice.
and that gets around, man. And I know I'm not the only one that sees that. You know what I mean? So like, I want you to go to the studio and see a LEX sticker, because that's what time it is.
Yep. Now, what made you go with the new logo keychain?
That was just an opportunity that I saw. I always keep a post on what's out there merchandising wise. I keep that in my purview in terms of the algorithms have kind of learned that I'm a deal hunter, I think. So when good opportunities present themselves, I'm always willing to take a chance and say, hey, that would be cool to have. That's something that that someone who appreciates me might want to keep. Might want to throw in their keychain. So yeah, for the most part, I have very limited amount of those. But yeah, right now my wife has one on her bag that she brings to work. She just kind of has it hanging off the top, and same with my daughter. Oh, there we go. There it goes right there. Yeah, so the logo keychain. But yeah, that's like a cool. I just, there's certain things that I see like, that's a nice aesthetic. That would be cool to have at a show. You know what I mean? If I put out my merch on the table, what aside from my stickers, what aside from my my CDs, my vinyl, even a couple of tape cassettes that I've had over the years, what else can I present? And everybody kind of does t-shirts, and that's not a knock. T-shirts are obviously phenomenal. I'm wearing a merch t-shirt right now, right?
It's what kind of flavor you add to it.
Yeah, for me personally, I haven't really gotten into the t-shirt game too heavy, just because I'll feel like, my lane is a little more geared towards the music. But I mean, it's not something that's beyond the realm of possibility. I may consider, throwing that into the merch table as well. But I like to have things like just physical products, like just something you could touch and say, yeah, this is I mess with this. You know what I mean? So I got the pins also, the little tiny pins.
Yep.
Yeah, just little mementos, um, for people who appreciate the sound. And some people are heavy on their pin game, some people are heavy on their patch game, some people are heavy on their sticker game, all those types of things. It's good to have some memorabilia available.
Definitely. And this is where the algorithms come into play of what we didn't have back then.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I will say those keychains were like a literal steal. Like, it was for me, it was a no brainer. It was like, you know what, it's worth the small investment um to even just see what they look like, in person. So yeah, I was pleased with those. They're a cool little memento.
I got to give a big shout out to NJ the AK. This man is everywhere. He's a true hip hop head. I always give him his props. If I'm on Flip the Script Radio, he's tuning in. If I'm on
Yeah,
Southern Gang Radio, he's tuning in. So
what's up?
big shout out to him. And I gotta let you know that he just copped the John album off your Bandcamp.
Oh, I just see that comment right there, man. That's what's up, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate that, man. I hope you mess with it. I remember the first time I encountered NJ the AK was my man Kahizi. This was through Gorilla Grooves Radio. First time I did Gorilla Grooves. Shout out to Fred Ones and Rhino, and of course Liggy Long. And first time I did that show was when I dropped Necessary in 2016. And I remember that night, one of the folks that was tuned in um, purchased an album off of my Bandcamp that day, and it was my man Kaheem. So big shout out to NJ to AK, the Alaskan homie. You know what I'm saying? Alaskan
Indeed.
fisherman in the house. Yeah. Nah, I hope you dig that, man. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that right to you. That's what's up.
Now, speaking of lifelong, they just had the 2-year anniversary, which you were out there rocking.
Yes, sir. That's right. The Secret Pour.
Tell us about that. I enjoy going to the spot. Whenever I get the chance.
Always a good time, man. Always a good time at the Secret Pour. This is the A-list showcase. So this is done by the Sessions crew. So my man Life Liggy Long, who you may have heard me on a record or two with, you will hear me on more with. That's my brother right there. Great dude. He actually became me a Candy fan too. So like when we connected with Ches, he kept going back to Ches. Ches, you will see Ches' name on the credits for the last couple of for the SI's Finest project, for the project with Noam Chomsky.
Yep.
Life's been on a nice roll. Life's got. I don't know what I can and can't say. I think he's announced this already. He's got an album coming with Murder Megs. I got a feature on. So Life is the homie.
And that's out in Chicago.
Yeah, he was out of Chicago recently, and
Yep.
he just came back. So shout outs to Lifelong, shout outs to Respect the God. Respect is another great dude, man. I'm almost ashamed I don't have a record with Respect. We're gonna have to change that. Respect the God, Poet Substratum, my man DJ Jedi, Cut Supreme. Shout outs to Cut Supreme. I was on his radio show, last Friday as well. The Trim Mix Party at Stony Brook. Shout outs to Cut Supreme, and my man Mikey. And who I feel DJ Afar, and of course A Sharp. So they make up the Sessions crew, and they've been over the last 2 years, the third Friday of every month, there's been a showcase at the Secret Pour in Bushwick. And it's just always a good vibe there. And it's funny. I said this when I got on stage, and I'm going to be rocking Secret Pour again on October 18th.
Okay.
So just a heads up on that. That's going to be with Cool Man Logan. And CF is going to be there. So I'm talking to CF about rocking if I had a chance during my set. So, that'll be a special,
Nice.
not every show am I going to be able to do that. But since the homies rocking, we're going to try to make that happen. And also, so before I get too far off base, third Friday of every month, they've been holding these showcases consistently over the last 2 years. So this past showcase in September, a couple weeks ago, was the 2-year anniversary. And what I said when I got on stage before I gave them their shout outs to try to give them a little bit of their flowers, acknowledge, that what they're doing is vital, right? This is something that, something that it doesn't just happen. It takes effort. It takes commitment. And to be consistent for 2 years straight in what some nights is going to feel thankless. It takes a certain type of individual to make that happen. So big shout out to the Sessions crew and the A-List Showcase. And I did start off my set by giving a rest in peace shout out to Doc Ock, and just kind of talking about how, they helped to kind of fill, what became sadly a void when we lost our brother Doc.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the type of crowd that comes together and connects at those shows, the type of energy that you feel in the building, it's something that you don't get everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's unfortunately a lot of ego in hip hop. And I think there's ego in general. I don't want to pigeonhole that to hip hop, but in hip hop, there's a lot of pride in being the nicest, and sometimes it escapes people how important it is to be tapped into a community. That hip hop really started from from us doing our best to keep ourselves out of trouble and stay creative and stay inspired by each other and with each other. And that's what these shows feel like. You know what I mean? That's what I always got from the Rock the House shows with Doc. And shout outs to DJ Toshi. Another great brother, man. I love DJ Toshi, man. It's funny. Last time I was in the studio with Enoids, it's a small world. Things come full circle all the time. But Lucky Tat was recording in the studio down the hall, and knocked on the door, checked in with my brother. I happened to be in there, so we chopped it up for a little bit. And he's like, "I'm with Toshi over there recording right now." So we went in and we got to hear a little bit of what they was working on. It was fire, man. So shout outs to Toshi, shout outs to Lucky Tat, and big rest in peace to Doc Ock. And I feel like that was a brother that everybody that knew him loved him. There were a couple of people who, for whatever reason, tried to get over on him. He was like a no nonsense guy, but he was so pure of heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so few people in this game that are willing to really just kind of make their platform available to you. And I'm not talking about like just it's not nothing when you got on a Rock the House show. When you got on a Rock the House show, you might have been rocking on a night with someone like Craig G or Raz Kaz, or like legends, consistently. Tragedy, you know what I'm saying? This is so organized confusion. So many people that would come through, and for so many years just kind of doing Wednesday nights this was in downtown Manhattan at the Delancey.
Yep.
And so many of these shows were free. You know what I mean? Like these like there's no charge to go over there and rub elbows with Premier. Like it's insane. Yeah, where do you get that? Doc Ock made that happen. Yeah. And I felt like sadly the last time I saw Doc was at Sean Price's 50th birthday anniversary. I had seen Doc that night. I'd seen a lot of people that night, but that was shortly after the pandemic had kind of ceased in terms of the restrictions and being in bars and all those types of things. So like once everything cooled, the temperature cooled down on that front, and people were out and partying again. That was the last time I seen Doc Ock, and I didn't think it was going to be the last time. It was only about a month or so afterwards that he passed on, and I just recall, I recall getting him a drink that night because he was like, if you knew Doc, he at that stage he was with his cane all the time, and he's just like once he had a seat, he didn't really want to, he didn't want to lose.
Moving around. Yep.
So he was like, Lex, come you could do me a favor, just get me a drink and get yourself something on the card. I'm like, I got you. So last time I saw Doc, I got him a drink, man, and I miss him, man. He was a good dude. So I mean, when I got up there and I shouted out the A-list showcase, it's been a couple of years since Doc has passed away, and I did let them know that I felt that what they were doing was filling a bit of the void that was left behind in his absence, and we appreciate that. We need that. And, through them we have it.
Yeah.
And they're not the only folks. Of course, there's a lot of good people who are doing things on the scene, but just that type of energy to me is unmatched at this stage. Like that's where I want to be. If I'm available the third Friday of the month, you know what I mean? It's just even if I'm not rocking, it's just a good vibe, good atmosphere, good time.
And that's all it needs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it needs, and the consistency.
But absolutely,
the thing about Doc Ock, and I think about this a lot when it comes to certain people, is to be a catalyst in just your genuine charismatic form,
right?
To always bring so many people together like that, and that was just naturally for him. And not too many people would do that. A lot of people try and force things like that.
Yep.
And like you were saying, look how consistent it was. Look how consistent, lifelong respect to God and the rest of them are at Secret Port. We can't force that.
Genuine article, yeah, because they're doing it. They're coming from a place of love.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming from a place of mutual respect. They're reaching out to people who they have, enough or little enough ego to say, I admire what you do, and I want to share this platform with you to do it here. And it was a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? It's always a beautiful thing, man. It's connecting with people on that level. I mean, it's this art form is like, it's so vast, right? Everybody with a job essentially has the accessibility of if they have the drive to go ahead and create music in their bedroom or wherever it may be. Right. There's the accessibility of it that has changed over the years. Right. So it's not quite as exclusive as it used to be in terms of, hey, who's really going out there and putting the grind in and investing the money to be in the studio for X amount an hour and, making sure that they make the most of every second of those sessions. Now it's just like, you can kind of you could be home. Yeah. I recorded a verse on my lunch break today. And that's just the reality of it. Like I did that for my man. Shout out to Zeps, man, New York Rhyme Exchange, the homie, putting something together, man. We might be getting a legendary DJ on the cuts for that track. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Nice.
But I mean, just goes to show, right? Like the accessibility is different than it's ever been. So there's an oversaturation now, and not only is there an oversaturation of whack cats, there's an oversaturation of dope cats too. There's enough people that have gotten really good at this that it's hard to keep up with music, right? It's hard to keep up with everything that you like. It's damn near impossible, right? Because I hear a lot that I'm like, wow, that's impressive. That was dope. I enjoyed that. But I don't know if I could fit this into my collection at this stage. So yeah, it's tough to keep up with all the music. But I mean, yeah, I will say that having the type of folks like Doc, like Toshi, as I mentioned earlier, like the Gorilla Grooves brothers, like Cut Supreme, like yourself, you know what I mean, Hip Hop Discussion Group, everybody that really just kind of creates an atmosphere that's welcoming to dope artists and allows them the opportunity to be seen, to be heard. It's a blessing, man. It's a blessing to be, embraced by this culture that you love so much. When it loves you back, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I want to give people a little taste of the album based off of what we just talking about. I want to go into the track "Touch of Smooth."
Cool. Yeah, that's one that hasn't really gotten a whole lot of burn, man. So I'm glad you pulled that one up. So this is one where I found the sample, the bass line blew me away. And I felt like this doesn't sound so much like anything else, but this sounds like me. So I went for it. Touch of Smooth.
Such an incredible vibe, take my accumulated stress and I set it aside later for that. The word flow, weight on your back, on the regular, go ahead and find a way to relax. As for me, I feel great on the track. Wordplay, help my bread rise up, let it bake on the rack. When I reach new heads, they be taking it back. Rock him, school of rap, I be making it clap. Hand in hand, I flip words and the grand. See, I'm hungry like the wolf, Duran. Plan to stand on 2 feet, earn my keep. Eyes locked on the prize, won't turn my cheek. Learn to speak my free will to God's ears. In the lab with a Dutch and a few odd beers. Soft tears over spilled milk, no can't do. Hold firm on my own, that's a clean man shit. Rugged with a touch of smooth, throw the right track on, I'ma bust the move. Decades in the game ain't enough to prove. Hold it down like I got too much to lose. Dapper with a touch of raw, get it in at the jam, cutting up the floor. Checked into the game, running up the score. Represent just to give y'all something pure. Check the call of the wild, play modest but I've been nice all of the while. Sort of a child, the gold era influence. I'm a product of my upbringing, innocence removed when I'm in my groove. Feel blessed when I win, ain't a sin to lose. Through and through, my strength is a just reward. Closed off to the nonsense I must ignore. Such a war, the world isn't grounds for play. Lip zip till I find something sound to say. NYC brick is a pound of clay. Keep warm with a girl from around the way. Bound to stray from BS, cling to fact. Love rap, but I ain't trying to bring it back. Been here, never left, that's a test of time. Where the C's better respect the next in line. Rugged with a touch of smooth, throw the right track on, I'ma bust the move. Decades in the game ain't enough to prove. Hold it down like I got too much to lose. Dapper with a touch of raw, get it in at the jam, cutting up the floor. Checked into the game, running up the score. Represent just to give y'all something pure. So smooth, clean and crisp, murder mics all day. But I plead the fifth, send it bad as your DSPs going stream the kid. So raw, rugged and mean, get love at the spot when I'm up in the scene. Mets cap on the dome, yeah, thug it for Queens. Got his own on the mic, all up in the scene. Rugged with a touch of smooth, throw the right track on, I'ma bust the move. Decades in the game ain't enough to prove. Hold it down like I got too much to lose. Dapper with a touch of raw, get it in at the jam, cutting up the floor. Checked into the game, running up the score. Represent just to give y'all something pure. Rugged with a touch of smooth, throw the right track on, I'ma bust the move. Decades in the game ain't enough to prove. Hold it down like I got too much to lose. Dapper with a touch of raw, get it in at the jam, cutting up the floor. Checked into the game, running up the score. Represent just to give y'all something pure.
Touch of Smooth off the new album, John.
Yes, sir.
I feel that you're one of those people that not only do you have a strong bond with the older generations of your family, but they definitely put those building blocks in you for the family that you've created as well.
For sure. I mean, life is cyclical, right? It goes in cycles. So, each one teach one sort of mentality, pass on what it is you learn and try to keep a strong foundation of what's important. You know what I mean? That just kind of comes with life, man. Life is tricky. And it's not the same for everyone. It's not necessarily easy for most people, or for anyone really at that. But yeah, man, I mean, you instill the values that you feel are important, and everything else kind of falls into place. Life is a series of decision making, and taking steps, and there's certain things that everybody's personality plays a role with how they get by.
True.
And just do my best to do unto others sort of mantra. Be respectful. I'm not here to do anything musically or otherwise other than share an energy that I find conducive to where I want to go with my life. And when you put out those type of vibrations, oftentimes you get them back. Not always. Sometimes an extended hand could be met by a spit in the face. This world could be harsh, but can't let it change you, right? Use that same hand that you spit on me to wipe that off, and either smack you back or keep it moving. Mm-hmm. Depending on my mood that day. But yeah, man, just we all just try to get by, man. And as far as the music is concerned, it's a creative outlet. It's something that is therapeutic. For me as a creator, and I hope to put forth something that feels that way also to the listener to some degree. And other times I just want to entertain you. I want you to say, "God damn, that was a nice verse. I want to hear that shit again."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
it's funny. While that song was playing, my phone started kind of blowing up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, Carl Anthony Towns is a Nick. I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more.
Okay.
I'm gonna do my research after this. But if you know Lex, you may know even through the music that I'm a big Knicks fan, big Mets fan, big Jets fan. I have no idea what's going on with the Mets game today. Usually I have my little there's a TV over the piano over here where I could watch SNY because I got the app on the TV. But they're playing, I think, on PIX tonight, so I have no idea what's happening. I need those guys to make the playoffs for me. I can't help it, man. New York to the heart.
Yeah, I was enjoying the series they just recently had with the Phillies.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was an exciting series. The Braves we're gonna face the doubleheader on Monday, so see how that goes. I'm just hoping we can come out of Milwaukee with at least a win or two.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Now, have you started working on your third installment with Enoids?
We've been building some ideas for it. So the third installment is going to be my last name, Acevedo. Acevedo is going to have production primarily by Enoids, but it's going to be some back and forth and some tracks that we're both working on together as well. We haven't started building that so much yet. That is in the preliminary stages in terms of the idea. I do have projects that are going to be coming in between, similarly to projects that have come in between Alex and John. So there are a couple of different types of series that I have going on as well. The next project that I release is likely going to be the third installment of Break the Pattern. So there's always something in the stash for me. I've got a couple of things. I've got an EP with I don't want to announce it yet just because it's not ready to drop, but
all good.
Bronx producer, I will say that much. Someone that anyone within our realms of viewership and just listening should be familiar with the name. So that I'm looking forward to put out. I've got a couple of features on that one too that I'm excited about. But yeah, that'll probably be early next year at this stage if I'm being realistic. And yeah, there's a couple of things in the work, but as far as Acevedo is concerned, we haven't taken the deep dive in just yet. As I kind of mentioned off air, some family things going on, and that are taking some of the time away from music at this stage, and also just kind of things going on at work, keeping me very busy. It's been challenging lately, but I'm gonna keep pushing as I always have. Kids growing up, all the time, celebrating my daughter's birthday early in this week. We were doing something tomorrow for her.
Yeah.
So, big shout out to Amira, and it's also her birthday is actually National Daughters Day, so I've got to shout out Kayla as well.
Look at that.
So, and yeah, man, just keeping busy as life's on. Me and Enoids, E also actually just enlisted in taking some more classes, to working towards a college degree. So I am definitely in support of that, but that's, it's a time investment as well. Right. So right now it's been a little busy, but we definitely, I wouldn't say it's on the back burner because it's on both of the forefront of both of our minds. So it's something that, we're going to just need to make the time to really get into the creative process. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll get in the studio and start putting together some of the music for it.
Okay. Dope. Now you recently dropped that track Tape Deck Flex.
Yeah, Tape Deck.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When you drop a loose track like this, is there something that's going on that you decide to release that? And also, aside from that track, when you do have a loose track, is there ever a time where you feel that it's going to go with a certain project based on the vibe or the concept that you have of that project?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's interesting about that particular track is that I have a handful of tracks that are kind of in a very similar vein. And I was gonna play those close to the chest. Every once in a while, there will be a Bandcamp Friday or something that rolls around that makes me feel like it's a good time to put something new out there.
Mm-hmm.
I have enough to do that pretty frequently if I wanted to, because there are a handful that are not on any specific projects, but I feel like they sound good together when I listen to them. So, I'm trying to keep a few of them a little close to the chest. But Tape Deck Flex is just a joint that I had gotten from Seth Silencer. Seth is another Queens homie, brother that I seen most recently at the Secret Pour show that we discussed earlier. He was at the 2-year anniversary. Just chilling. He's done beat sets for the A-List showcase over the years a couple of times. but that's the homie, man. And I met him through my man Leo. Another great dude. Last Measure, shout out to Last Measure. They was all in the house. And yeah, the Flushing brethren. And they yeah, Seth got some shit basically. You know, if you've heard, I mean, he's got his material that he's released with Mayhem Loren, with Spit Gems, with just a lot of talented artists. And you know, thankfully I'm on Seth's radar to you know, share some of that talent with. And when I heard that track, you know, I was kind of blown away by it. It's something that so the story behind that is the reason I wrote what I wrote to that song was because Seth had actually sent me that track. He was playing it and he recorded it on the phone and sent me like an M3U or something of it. When it was when I had finally come back around to getting my pen moving to it, this was some time had passed and he didn't have that session any longer. So all I had was this like phone recording of a beat that I loved, you know, and I was like, yo, I need this track. What can I do to kind of complement the lo-fi sound in a way that is you know, that kind of makes the beat stand out, right? That puts the beat in the forefront and kind of celebrates it, despite the fact that this probably isn't the cleanest version of this track that I'm able to get, and it still sounds pretty damn good. But I was like, well, you know, like this almost has a bit of like a analog tape feel, right? Sounds like something that you threw in the tape deck and played on. It's got a little bit of that muddiness. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna work this into, you know, myself just searching for a tape that's been eluding me. And when I find it, you know, I'm just gonna, you know, kick a couple of verses over it and just kind of go in. And that's how the concept for that particular record came about. Just based off of the fact that I had a version of it that was not like, you know, what I standardly will receive from producers. And you know, I actually have another Seth Silencer track that's in the stash right now that I'm not letting go just yet. So this one, it was just like I wanted to kind of put something out there that people could, you know, just kind of get a feel for separate from the new album. Obviously, you know, I didn't necessarily need something else out, but I felt like it was a good compliment. I did know that I had, you know, the keychains coming and the pins on the website. So I was like, well, you know what, Bandcamp Friday, let me put some of the merch that I don't have on Bandcamp, make it available. And if I'm going to make it available, why not make it available with the song, right? So if you purchase the keychain or a pin from Bandcamp, you will get a copy of Tape Deck Flex.
There it is.
Yeah, man. So I do like that track a lot, man. That's one that I'm particularly fond of, and so I have that track. I have another track from Seth Silencer that I'm very happy with. Ches worked on both of those joints. Ches is mixing a handful of songs for me right now that I'm putting together. I got a Monk joint with Casper on it. I got some other things I probably shouldn't announce just yet. But some good tracks. I will say DJ M1's got a joint. I do think that Tape Deck Flex is going to end up on this, like on what's kind of becoming a culmination of Lucy's that all just work together. So yeah, I'll figure out a way to tie them all full circle.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with the way the sound's been going on those tracks, and I'm really looking forward to putting that out probably next year. We'll see how many more of those I get in. Got a SI's Finest joint on there. I got some stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, some
Nice,
stuff.
nice.
Yeah.
Now I was just listening to Sweep the Leg again, so I got to ask:
Nice.
any GS Advance and also
Ooh, yes, there is actually a GS Advanced track that's coming on a DJ compilation that's on the way. I will not give the name out just because it has not been announced, but I will say that there's more LEX and GS coming. And yeah, I was talking to GS and Just the other day. We've got to get some more in, man, because everything we do together
Definitely.
is has an impact. First joint that I actually did with GS was also with FU, and that was that ended up being a bonus. Initially, it was a bonus vinyl only record of the Chop Herring Hash EP. So that's where it first dropped. Joint called Insatiable Bloodlust. If you haven't heard that, go back and listen to that. I feel like every time me and GS connect, it's pretty monstrous. And shout outs to FU too. FU's about to drop another project as well. He's got the Slick Rick album cover ode. Very dope, very dope. And those guys are all geniuses, man, when it comes to like Better Everything and Broken Home. And these guys are just or Homeschool. These guys are just another level in terms of how they think. Like really, really talented individuals. Shout outs to A1. But yeah, but me and Just got to get something else in too, man. So I mean, we do have the pen relays with Quest and Mad Lad as well. That's with me, GS, and Just P, as well as obviously Quest. And we also have I did have a joint on Just's collaboration album with Innocent. So I was fortunate to be featured on that project. And there's more on the way though. We've been talking about it. I've got to go through my stash of tracks that have not been utilized and kind of bunch those together to really get some more working with my brothers. Like not only GS and Just P, but a lot of other brothers. I was fortunate to get a joint on Greasy Amin's recent project. So definitely, after hearing what he did with that record, I want to do more with him. Me and him were chopping it up a little bit. But I mean, a lot of people that's just on the scene, man. Shout outs to Nam Nitty, me and him got to eventually get one in. Same thing with
Nice.
with Nat Burner. It's another dude that I'm trying to get some work in with. I'm trying to get myself a little more acclimated to the LI scene in that regard as well. I matter of fact, I will be doing a show on Friday, October 11th in St. James. I know my man Jux Diamonds is rocking that, and Drew Money, and a few people is going to be involved with that. But shout outs to XO Joe, who reached out and let me know that that's going down. So I'll be rocking that as well. I mean, there's just so many people that on this scene that are kind of interconnected, and that are just a pleasure to work with. And I want to shout out my man 07, Skanks the Rap Martyr, man. It's just like this. I could go on for days.
Working with talent. That's all needs to be said. You working with talent.
Yeah. No, I mean, we all have we inspire each other. You know what I'm saying?
That's dope, man.
So
Dope. And it's good to hear, that you're also doing some shows out in Long Island. Now, in a previous interview, which was on Against the Grain, I believe he was talking about how it's different out there.
It is. It's just funny because so shout outs to All Mental and Deep Against the Grain Radio and DJ Polarity and everybody that's involved with ATG. But so there was one of the first hip hop related events that I had done since I've been in Long Island for going on 4 years almost. And one of the first events that I attended was an in-store. And this was one that All Mental actually put me onto. He was like, he called me up one day. He's like, "Yo, Lex, I'm gonna be doing I'm gonna be headed to an in-store, and you know, I don't think it's too far from where you're at. If I come through to the train station, you know, can we roll together?" So I was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, oh yeah." So I was like, "Let's do it." So it was Joel Ortiz and Crooked Eye. We're doing an in-store
Oh, okay.
for one of their projects. It wasn't hard. It was the project that
Think,
dropped out there. They've
think
got
the
a
one
handful.
after that.
Yeah, they've got a couple at this point. But so this was the one that had like the slaughterhouse type cover. Um, I think it was like a dead, the dead pig or whatever.
Mhm.
And so we went out there, and I met him. This is at a store called Looney Tunes Records in Long Island. It's in West Babylon. Shout outs to Looney Tunes Records, man. I found some gems in there since that day. I've been going over the last couple of years. Man, I
Mhm.
found some real gems. Like, you know me, I'm a collector, right? I like to collect CDs. Um I like to just have shit. So I've found a lot of good shit at Looney Tunes Records. But and they just recently had an in-store. The day I was doing the interview with All Mental, they were having an in-store for LL Cool J. He was doing the
Oh
Force.
wow.
Yeah, I wish I could have made that, because I would have liked to have actually, I've never LL somebody I've never seen perform live. I've never actually met. So that
Mhm.
that's a legend right there. And I like the Force. I'm fucking with it, man. I am. If it seems like a love hate sort of project, I tend to love
I'm
it.
feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, we went out to Looney Tunes, and the way they had it set up, there was almost like it's like a rope line sort of deal, right?
Mhm.
Where almost like, you know, like you're entering a club. And to me, that was strange. And you know, like I was just saying earlier, I would go to these Doc Ock shows on the Rock the House shows on Wednesday nights, and it'd just be, like, I'm over here just hanging out with, like, somebody like Craig G, or like just legends, right? Regularly, Nick the Exotic, Tragedy, Royal Flush, like, everybody's just chilling, you're elbow to elbow with people. And so to me, I'm not at all like starstruck by rappers. I do have clearly an appreciation for them. But it's like, do we really need a rope line for Crooked Eye and Joel Ortiz? And that's not any disrespect to them. It's just different to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like we went out there, and I remember just kind of waiting in line. It was kind of cold outside. I'm like, all right, well, whatever, they'll get here eventually. So they arrive, and they pull up, and they have like a camera with them. And at first I'm like, man, this is some like real Hollywood type shit. Like, because is it more small towny out here, where to the point where it's like, you know we're treating rappers like stars, which is not a problem. They are entertainers, um, and they deserve, a crowd to show up for them. They're dope, but it was just different to me, and I remember feeling like, well, is this, like, are we idolizing rappers out here? Is that how it goes? I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just different. Because in the city, it's just so accustomed to, we're so spoiled with the shows that we get, right? Like, it's a regular occurrence. You look at the Fat Beat's 30th anniversary. Wow, what a magnificent lineup, right? I've seen
Right.
all of those artists perform, so me
Mhm.
missing that show didn't kill me. I've seen
I
all
get
of
it.
them perform,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I wanted to be there, but I couldn't. It wasn't working for me.
Same
Uh,
here. Yeah.
so, but that just kind of goes to show, right? Like, if you're on the scene often enough in New York, you're gonna see a lot. So you're impressed. It takes a little more to impress you, I think.
Mhm.
But what ended up being very cool about that in-store, and the fact that they did show up with the camera and everything and do the signing, and they were cool. They're humble guys. The Crooked definitely, like, gives off a vibe like I would like to hang out with this guy. Um, But they actually ended up shooting a music video that day during that in store.
That's right. Yeah.
And me and Momento ended up being in their video just because we showed up that day. So like while I was, and I wasn't hating on it, but it was just like kind of like it struck me as weird, and then I kind of felt like a dick for feeling like it was weird because like how cool is it that I got into a video without even trying, like or expecting to. So I thought that was really cool of them, the fact that they did kind of give that nod of appreciation to to the fans in general during that event. So yeah, I mean, shout outs to Crooked Eye and Joel Ortiz, man. Those guys are super fucking talented, as we all know. And it's dope to see them, kind of keeping that thing going.
Yep. So, and the thing is, we're so used to not only just going to see an artist there, but the artist might be right next to us as a fan. Yep. So, in a small town, that would be mind blown.
Right. Yeah, it seems different, right? Yeah. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, so on the flip side, I have been because I know that Long Island has a history, in terms of hip hop, like Chop Shop and like all different types of things, Connects List and all that. I remember back in the days, but a lot of that has kind of subsided. Right, you don't have the same venues that you used to have. You don't have the same record stores that you used to have. You don't have the same real like opportunity for regular ongoing events in Long Island hip hop. But I will say that the show that I am going to be doing in St. James, that same promoter has been doing lots of shows at Shuby's at the Hive in Baldwin, New York. And shout out to Shuby's because they're real cool over there. And every time I go to one of those shows at Shuby's, man, it's a fucking great time. Similar vibe. They have a nice outdoor like kind of atmosphere, and then indoors for the showcasing the performances. They have good food there. So that's been a little more frequent, and that's really more so over the last year or so. So shout out to Shuby, shout outs to EXO. They've been making some dope hip hop events happen in Long Island, and I've been fortunate to rock a couple of those and even just attend some.
That's dope. I hope there's more and more like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I mean, that's why
Long Island is big though.
Long Island is huge. That's one thing that I had to really learn, because coming from the boroughs, Queens, I always thought of Queens is big, right? Queens is big, right? If you like the trek from Far Rockaway to Astoria or something is that's not close. That's not close at all, right? Queens is big, but Long Island makes it, Queens is just a county on Long Island, right? Queens and Brooklyn, Queens and Kings counties are counties on Long Island that are obviously New York City, 5 boroughs, but they're connected to the actual island.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas then you have Nassau, that's bigger than Queens, probably bigger than Queens and Brooklyn combined. And then you have Suffolk, which, population wise, is probably, it's still more than Nassau, but only a little more than Nassau. But size wise, it's like, it's how is this one county? Suffolk County is huge. And like you can drive literally, from the tip of Queens towards, if you're going towards the end of Long Island or Montauk or some shit, that's a couple of hours. Long Island is huge. Long Island is huge, and it takes some getting used to. It seems like everywhere is like, even locally, right? So this is like just, I guess, suburban life is something that I'm still getting used to. When you have to make a trip to the supermarket. I live very close to the outlets, right? I'm in Deer Park, so in Deer Park you're very close to like the Tanger outlets out there. At least where I'm at. I'm 5 minutes door to door to the outlets. But if I wanted to walk to the outlets, Long Island is where a 5-minute drive is a 45-minute walk.
That's like Florida.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not accustomed to it still, you know. So yeah, you need a car out here. So that's why the accident was like such a bummer for me. Thankfully, I did have access to another vehicle, so I'm keeping the family afloat with that. But yeah, losing my car hurt, and that was
Yeah.
not earlier this year.
Yeah, it's crazy because when I just interviewed John Jiggs, he's
Shout out to John Jakes, and if he's from Huntington, I believe, right?
Riverhead.
That's right. He did tell me.
Talking about Riverhead is way out there.
Yeah, Riverhead's out there. Riverhead's out there. The funny thing is, Riverhead there's still a lot more beyond that. It's crazy to think, right? Especially if you drive in traffic, forget about it. You feel the distance. But people in Long Island drive fast.
Yes,
that's something I had to get used to too.
I was going to say it's funny you said that Deer Park area because my wife has family out there, and I just drove out to a few weeks ago. Well, it's about a month now. End of August, I took the LI Long Island Railroad to Farmingdale. Okay. And then I met up with some of the family, and then we drove to Deer Park from there.
Right.
So, and then drove, back home at the end of the weekend. And every time we're on the Long Island Expressway, just like you were saying, people are flying all the time.
Yeah.
And that's normal for them.
That is normal. That is normal. It opens up though the further out you get, like the further east you get, it opens up more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a wide highway. You have your
and you got the HOV. Yep.
So, yeah, so people fly. It's almost like the Jersey Turnpike, right? They fly out there too.
Yep.
Yeah, but Long Island. I mean, it's its own thing. It takes some getting used to. There are definitely certain quality of life things that I love. I love pulling into a driveway every day. That's like I never want to look for parking again in my life. Like having a driveway is a different life. But I got the yard back here, and the deck and all these things that kind of luxuries that you love. But there's being a city kid, I miss the walkability of things. Like I like being able to just walk out my house at any hour and just same
thing with the trains. Yep.
Yeah. I miss the city in that regard. But every time I come back to the city, I'm like, damn, things are closing earlier out here now too.
So, just remember, it's comfortable now.
I do what I can. I do. I got no complaints.
Respect, man. Lex, once again, I appreciate taking the time, and shout out to everyone that's tuning in as well. NJ to AK, shout out William Mack tuned in as well. Big shout out to him. And the album John is also on CD. We didn't mention that, but it's also on CD. And I'll put the link up once again to the Bandcamp. Definitely go support it, share it, let everyone know about it.
Yeah, indeed, man. LexNYRE.bandcamp.com. I am LexNYRE pretty much everywhere where there's a handle. You look for me, you'll find me. Also, if you're not sold by the conversation, man, feel free to stream it. It is available on all streaming platforms or all major digital platforms, DSPs. Take a listen to it. You know what I'm saying? If you feel it, by all means, support in any way that you see fit. Spread the word. And I'm going to keep creating.
There you go. Any possible visuals from this project?
That's something I'm going to have to make some time for. I do want to shoot a couple of things. So that there has been some preliminary discussion about a couple of tracks. So we'll see where those go. Hopefully sooner than later. I don't, it's like everything is so popcorn these days where it's like here today, gone tonight. And I definitely, I don't want the shelf life on these releases to expire. just based on the fact that, people's attention spans are different. The reality is it's always going to be new to somebody. I haven't reached everyone. And yeah, so, I mean, but again, got to strike while the iron's hot, right?
Yep.
Keep visibility open for the project. So that is something that I intend to pursue a little bit further within the coming weeks. So hopefully there's something on the way, but I can't commit to anything being ready right now.
All good.
Now, if you're a videographer, you watching, you listening, you know what I'm saying? LEX NYRE, holla at me, make something happen.
You heard it here. Before we go, definitely let everyone know where they can reach out to you and also support.
Indeed. So lexnyre.bandcamp.com is the main resource for any merch that I have available. When I say merch, I mean pins, keychains, CDs, stickers, vinyl. Everything that I am still in possession of is available through the Bandcamp. Can also find me on any of the digital streaming platforms under the name LEX NYRE. NYRE is an acronym for New York Rhyme Exchange. If you did not know, now you know. I am on Instagram, LEX NYRE. Had an occurrence with that. Had gotten hacked, so I had to rebuild from scratch. So help me build that back up. It's been kind of it's more or less back to normal at this stage. But yeah, also on Facebook, I believe Facebook, LEX NYRE would also be the handle there for the artist page. And on Twitter, I am actually LEX718 or X rather, LEX718. But I'm never really on X. But if you do come across my page there, my music there, feel free to add me. I will see it and I will respond.
Yeah, it is. And I believe even though the vinyl is sold out, you still have some CDs and cassettes.
That's a fact. So for this, the first project from the Self series is named Alex. We discussed that a little bit earlier in the episode. That is still available on CD, and there I may actually have a tape or two available still for Alex as well. So if you're into the cassettes, you got that tape deck Flex. It's on the Bandcamp. Go grab it, go snatch it up before somebody else does, because there ain't too many of those left.
Yeah, it is.
All right, Ian, I appreciate you, man.
Definitely appreciate you, and I will be sharing this as well. Once again, like I said, and I'll continue to say this. I don't care. I'll be an old man. Take advantage of technology.
Yeah.
Don't let it be a demise.
Yeah, indeed. It's a tool, right?
Yep, that's all it is.
Tools are to be used. That's all.
Yep. On behalf of HHDG Media, we're going to say peace.
Peace, y'all.